You think a shark attack means the ocean, a beach, a surfboard, the music from Jaws playing in your head the second you think about it. Bull sharks have been tracked over 2,500 miles up the Amazon River, found swimming near Iquitos, Peru, a city so far inland it takes days to reach by boat from the nearest coast. They have been documented living permanently in Lake Nicaragua, a freshwater lake with no ocean access for most of the year. They can survive, hunt, and kill in water you would swim in without a second thought. The ocean was never the boundary. It was just the part of the map you were watching. Every other large shark on Earth is locked to salt water by its own biology. A bull shark isn't. Sharks regulate their internal salt balance using a system built around seawater's chemistry, a specific concentration their kidneys and organs are tuned to. Drop most sharks into a freshwater river, and that system fails within days. Their tissues absorb water, their organs swell, and they die. The bull shark has a physiological workaround. Its kidneys can adjust salt retention far beyond what any other large shark species can manage, and a specialized gland near its tail can be throttled up or down, depending on the water it's in. It is one of the only large shark species on the planet that can move freely between full ocean salinity and pure fresh water, not for a few hours near an estuary, but for months, sometimes years, deep inland. That single adaptation rewrites where this animal is allowed to exist. Most predators have a habitat. The bull shark has a spectrum, and it treats every point on that spectrum as home. Here is what that spectrum looks like on a map. Bull sharks have been recorded well up the Mississippi River system, with older reports placing them as far north as Illinois, and there are historical catches reported from the Ohio River as well. Records that predate modern verification standards and are treated by some researchers with caution, but that fit a documented pattern of long-distance freshwater movement seen clearly elsewhere in the species. They live permanently in Lake Nicaragua, a body of fresh water that early explorers assumed held a unique freshwater species, until researchers eventually confirmed they were the same bull sharks found along the Pacific coast, capable of navigating up the San Juan River and past a set of rapids to reach the lake. They have been documented in the Zambezi River in southern Africa, hundreds of kilometers from the Indian Ocean, far enough inland that local names for the animal often don't associate it with shark at all. They are the shark most frequently implicated in attacks that happen nowhere near a beach, attacks in harbors, attacks in rivers, attacks in murky water where nobody was expecting anything larger than a catfish. And unlike a great white or a tiger shark, both built long, streamlined, clearly shark-shaped even to an untrained eye, the bull shark has a short, thick, almost stocky build. In murky river water, at a glance, it does not read as a shark at all. That's not an accident of anatomy, it's camouflage born from habitat. An animal built to hunt in low-visibility water doesn't need the silhouette that reads as predator to a human brain trained on ocean footage. The reason a bull shark can operate in water too murky for sight is a sensory system most people have never heard of. Every shark has electroreceptor organs called the ampullae of Lorenzini, small pores across the snout that detect the faint electrical fields generated by muscle contractions in nearby animals. In a great white or a tiger shark, hunting mostly in clearer open water, this system is a backup sense. In a bull shark, operating routinely in water where visibility can drop to a few centimeters, it functions as close to a primary one. That means a bull shark can locate, track, and strike prey in water so opaque a human observer couldn't identify anything beyond arm's length, using a sense that detects the electrical signature of a beating heart and contracting muscle, not shape or color or movement against light. It also means the murky rivers, harbors, and flood-swollen estuaries that make most predators less effective barely slow this one down at all. The environment that should be the bull shark's biggest handicap is, functionally, the environment it's best equipped to hunt in. Bull sharks also carry something else that separates them from most other shark species, notably elevated testosterone levels, spiking even further during certain periods of their life cycle. Researchers who have measured shark hormone profiles have found bull shark testosterone running higher than in the other large shark species studied alongside them, though the comparative sample across species remains limited, and this is one area where more data would sharpen the picture. Correlating hormone levels with behavior in wild animals is difficult, and researchers are careful about overstating a direct causal link. But the behavioral pattern researchers do observe lines up with the hormonal data. Bull sharks are disproportionately represented in unprovoked attack investigations relative to their population size, and they're known for a specific behavior other large sharks display far less often: repeated investigatory contact. Where a great white typically executes a single exploratory bite and disengages, bull sharks are more frequently documented returning for multiple contacts in a single encounter. Combine that with poor water clarity, the exact environment this shark prefers, and you get a predator that relies on physical contact to identify what it's investigating, in the same water where humans are swimming, wading, and fishing without ever seeing it coming. On July 6th, 2001, on Santa Rosa Island near Pensacola, Florida, an 8-year-old boy named Jessie Arbogast was swimming in shallow water close to shore when a bull shark seized his arm and pulled him under. His uncle, alerted by screams, swam out, physically wrestled the shark to the beach, and, with help from a park ranger who shot the animal, recovered Jessie's arm from inside it. Jessie survived, though he lost massive amounts of blood before reaching a hospital and sustained permanent brain injury from blood loss. His arm was successfully reattached in a lengthy surgery. The shark responsible, examined afterward, was confirmed as a bull shark, not the far larger, more publicly feared species most people assume is responsible for attacks in shallow coastal water. The attack happened in water shallow enough that Jessie's feet could touch bottom, close enough to shore that his family was standing on the beach when it happened. That is the operating range this animal is built for. Not deep water, far from land, the exact transition zone, shallow, murky, close to shore, where nearly all human recreational water contact happens. There is a reason bull sharks show up in rivers and harbors so early in life, long before they're large enough to be considered dangerous by most people who encounter them. Female bull sharks give live birth, not eggs, but fully formed pups, and they do it specifically in the calm, low salinity water of river mouths, estuaries, and coastal lagoons. Researchers who study the species have identified this pattern across nearly every population studied. Adult females travel toward brackish, sheltered water to give birth, then leave. The pups stay behind, sometimes for several years, growing in exactly the kind of water where large marine predators can't easily follow them in and human water traffic is heaviest. This means the harbors, canals, and river mouths near many coastal cities are not incidental territory for this species. They are nurseries, inherited generation after generation, because the same environmental conditions that make them safe for a young shark to grow up in are the conditions found near virtually every port city and beach town built at a river mouth. A juvenile bull shark in a harbor is not lost, and it is not an anomaly. It is exactly where its mother was born, and where her mother was born before her. On the eastern coast of South Africa, in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, the Natal Sharks Board has spent decades maintaining one of the most detailed shark attack databases in the world, a direct response to a stretch of coastline with one of the highest concentrations of documented bull shark encounters anywhere. Durban's beaches sit near several river mouths, where seasonal flooding pushes murky, nutrient-rich fresh water directly into the surf zone, precisely the conditions this species is built to exploit. Researchers with the Sharks Board have long identified a consistent pattern. Attack risk along this coastline rises sharply in the days following heavy rain, when river runoff clouds the nearshore water and draws bull sharks in to feed on disoriented baitfish pushed out with the current. The pattern is well known enough locally that many surf schools and lifeguard services along this stretch of coast avoid the water entirely for a period after significant rainfall, not because of a single incident, but because decades of recorded data made the correlation impossible to ignore. It is one of the clearest examples anywhere in the world of a predictable, documented environmental trigger for a species most beachgoers assume behaves at random. Recife, a coastal city in northeastern Brazil, offers one of the most thoroughly documented case studies linking a single environmental change to a shark attack spike anywhere in the world. Before 1992, shark attacks along Recife's beaches were rare. After a large commercial port was constructed nearby, disrupting a river estuary system that had historically been bull shark nursery habitat, the region saw one of the highest concentrations of shark attacks per capita documented anywhere in the world. The overwhelming majority attributed to bull sharks displaced from their altered habitat and pushed into closer contact with recreational beaches. Researchers who studied the pattern, including marine biologists at the Federal Rural University of Pernambuco, concluded the port construction had eliminated critical nursery grounds, forcing bull sharks into unfamiliar territory directly adjacent to where people swim. The city eventually implemented one of the most extensive shark monitoring and response programs of any coastal city in the world, specifically because of the pattern. The Recife case demonstrates something important about this species that the Florida and South Africa cases only hint at. Bull sharks don't need a specific, rare set of circumstances to end up in contact with humans. They need their habitat disrupted in almost any direction, by a port, by a flood, by nothing more than the season changing. And they will end up somewhere else. Often, somewhere with people already in the water. The International Shark Attack File, maintained by the Florida Museum of Natural History, tracks confirmed unprovoked shark attacks worldwide and ranks the species responsible whenever an identification is possible. Bull sharks consistently rank among the top 3 species implicated in unprovoked attacks on humans, alongside great whites and tiger sharks. A list most people can name 2 of, and have never heard of the third. Researchers who compile the data note a specific reason bull sharks likely appear even more often in the true count than official records reflect. Many attacks in murky river and estuary water, where visual identification of the species is impossible, go recorded simply as shark attack, species unconfirmed. Given the habitat, several researchers consider it likely that a share of those unidentified cases were bull sharks, an animal whose entire ecological niche is exactly the low-visibility water where a clear species ID is hardest to get. Put the range on a global scale, and the pattern becomes even harder to dismiss as a handful of unusual rivers. Bull sharks have been confirmed in coastal and inland waters across dozens of countries, from the Atlantic and Gulf coasts of the United States, through the rivers and coastlines of Central America, across West and East Africa, through South and Southeast Asia, and along the coastlines of Australia. Few large predators of any kind, on land or in water, have a confirmed range that wide. Most apex predators are geographically limited by a specific climate, a specific prey base, or a specific type of terrain. The bull shark's only real requirement is warm water. Salinity essentially optional. That single, minimal constraint is what allows it to appear in places researchers cataloging shark distribution once assumed were simply outside shark range altogether. Here is what researchers still can't fully resolve. Nobody has a reliable global population estimate for bull sharks. Unlike great whites or tiger sharks, which are tracked through satellite tagging programs concentrated in known coastal aggregation zones, bull sharks disperse across river systems, estuaries, lakes, and coastlines on nearly every continent with warm water access, making any comprehensive census close to impossible with current tracking technology. Researchers also don't fully understand what triggers the investigatory bites that account for a large share of non-fatal bull shark encounters. The leading hypothesis, that poor water clarity forces a reliance on physical contact and electroreception for identification, is well supported, but doesn't explain the full pattern of documented encounters, some of which have occurred in clearer water than the theory would predict. What's confirmed repeatedly across decades of case studies from Florida to Brazil to South Africa is that bull sharks are found in water humans consider safe, specifically because it doesn't look like shark habitat. Rivers, harbors, shallow water close to shore, water without waves, without a visible horizon line, without any of the cues people associate with the ocean and its risks. There is no reliable global population count for this species, and there may never be one, not because the animal is rare, but because it refuses to stay in the kind of water researchers know how to monitor. Most sharks are confined by their own chemistry to the part of the world you already associate with sharks. This one isn't. It is in rivers 1,000 miles from any coastline. It is in lakes with no ocean access. It is in the murky water off a harbor wall, in the shallows where children play at the water's edge, in the surf a few days after a heavy rain, in exactly the places people stopped thinking to look. The next time you're standing in brown river water, or wading into a harbor, or swimming somewhere without a horizon in sight, somewhere that doesn't feel like shark water, understand what that feeling actually is. It's not safety, it's just an animal that was never supposed to be there, being very good at not looking like it is. There is no fence around a river, no lifeguard tower on a flooded canal, no warning flag raised over brown water a few miles from where a port was built 40 years ago. The infrastructure humans built to warn against danger in the water was built for the ocean, for waves, for currents, for the animal you already knew to watch for. Nobody built that system for a shark that doesn't need the ocean at all. It was never hiding in a place you were told to be afraid of. It was hiding in every place you were told you didn't need to be.